Hi, my name is Alessandro Gangelosi and that's a video tutorial coming from cgcookie.com for Max Cookie. This time we'll work at a simple introduction tutorial to understand how Forest Pack works, and we are talking about Forest Pro and Forest Lead, and we'll use it to create this simple and natural environment using VRay for the rendering. So let's start working at this new tutorial. So the Forest Pro is really simple to be used, and I like to create a really simple environment. So let's go to check the unit setup. Let's go to let's say 4 centimeters, and let's go back to the unit setup and check the system unit setup, and that's okay. So we can have an environment, and let's imagine that we have, for example, let's say a plane, and this plane is, let's imagine, maybe 50 meters. So let's go for 5,000, and there, let's say that we have 50 meters too, maybe on this axis. Okay, so that's our basic environment. Maybe this one can be bigger, and we can work just on this place because that's just an introduction to understand how to use Forest Pro. And the first thing we can do is to have actually more segments, and then we can start to make a little bit of sculpting. So let's go to convert to editable poly, and we have the we'll go to use the freeform to sculpt a little bit this environment. So we can start using the shift because I like to have a place with the water there. So you see I'm starting to shift a little bit the terrain. Obviously now it is higher, but we can shift over this axis to have it lower. Okay, we'll do something really simple. So let's go to have it this one. So we'll go to move a little bit the stuff, you see, just to have something more complex, but nothing so important. And then we can do a little bit of shifting over the other axis too. Let's use less fall off. And let's try to have a little bit more space also there. Okay. Now I like to imagine that this part is higher than the other. So let's go back to have more fall off again, and we'll go a little bit higher, and maybe also on this part. Okay. So now let's imagine to have a little bit of tessellate over it. Let's go for quad phase 0 for the tension. See, that's our basic environment, and we can have a little bit more tessellate. Okay, so you see it's simple. We don't need something so complex. We can just go to convert to editable poly again, and we can just maybe have a little bit of sculpting again, so we can use a little bit of noise. Let's go for 200, 2000. More strength, let's go for 8. Okay, you see that we have a little bit of disturbance over the surface. And then let's see also the edges faces. You see it's really simple actually, and I think we can just add a turbo smooth over. Let's remove the facet. So you see that's our terrain, and let's imagine to have this one and this way for the moment, and we can assign, let's close there, we can assign a shell modifier, and we can go for inner for, let's say, 25, 200, 250, let's go higher. Okay, nice. And 0 for this part. So that's our terrain, and let's go to save the project. Let's say 3ds Max. Let's go for rendering, natural environment, and let's copy. Let's say also with maybe introduction, and then we can copy this one and save. Okay, so let's add a water plane, and the water plane can be done obviously just with a plane, and this one can stay lower to something like that. So we can imagine to have the need to do something over the border there. Okay, so let's pick this one and let's go out, and let's imagine to have a noise modifier. Let's scale it, let's say 15 fractal, let's say 15 centimeters. So you see we have something that is working, and let's scale it. Okay, and then let's see if we have a turbo smooth, or we can try also with a relax, maybe less or more. And this one can stay on the top. Okay, so we have something that kind of works. Let's go to set VRay as rendering engine, and sorry, let's create a camera, and this camera can be moved we can rotate it, sorry, a little bit. And let's scale. Okay, just a little bit. Nice. So we can maybe exaggerate a little bit with the noise over the z-axis, and then we are ready. So we can start with the lighting, and we can do something really simple. So let's imagine to have a light done using a VRay light, and this one will be a dome light, and it will be visible for the moment. Let's say 238, 48, spherical full dome, and let's prepare using the HDR map we have. So let's go there and let's say VRay HDR, and for the moment we use the map coming with 3ds Max, so let's use this one, and let's say spherical. So that's the map actually. That's nice. Let's go there and shade it, and we can try to make a simple render. Let's say 900 and 400, and we don't need the anti-alias for the moment. And let's go for the gamma to number 2.2, and we have no GI. Let's say to use the built-in frame buffer, and let's say that we can use a huge amount of memory, and we have a little baguette render area. Okay, we need the exposure control, and let's go for the VRay photographic. Let's go for a daylight for the moment. Okay, so that's our actual render, really simple. Let's start with this one, and we can say that this one is the water, and the water is a VRay material, and that's black because we have no diffuse flash and reflection, with a reflection set to 1 and just a little bit of reflection glossiness for the moment. We go for 1.7 for the reflection glossiness, the IRR. Let's reopen, and that's the actual result. We can go a little bit higher. Okay, nice. It is also refracting, so let's go for something like that, and it is 1.34. So now it will be transparent. Okay, let's go there in the map, and let's select the light, and let's copy the map in the use texture as an instance, and then rendering again. Okay, so you see we have also the back. Now we see the reflection, and we see also obviously this one. It's not nice. We don't need to see this one in the reflection, so we can do something really simple. Now we put another light to illuminate the scene. So let's do something simple. Let's go to create. So we'll use a map there to have a bump. Let's do a simple thing, just using maybe a smoke map, this cardinal map, and let's go selecting this area and render. Okay, obviously it's too much and it's too big. So back there, let's say that there we have something around 200, and the bump level will be lower, and again render. So I like to have just a little bit, it's still too much. Let's go for something lower, 1.5. Okay, maybe we can try with something lower. So let's go for 0.7, because I like just to have a subtle movement effects. Okay, nice and save. So now I like to have the right illumination and the right sky. So this one will be no visible to the reflection and will be invisible. And for the moment, let's go with this value. Then we can use, let's go in the environment, and let's say that we use a VRay sky. And let's copy it as an instance, and we can use also a sun. So we go there in the daylight. Okay, and we say that this one is a VRay sun. Yes. Okay, yes, we can also replace it and exposure control, and let's copy as instance there, specify node, and set the sunlight. Then we can lower the intensity of the sun to have the right illumination there. We say no skylight, and just for a moment let's set to off this one. Then back there let's set the timing. Okay, let's render. So that's the actual status. Oh, sorry. Let's go to light a little bit. Okay, we need to be back. Let's go to 0.3. Okay, I think we can go higher. Or maybe if we have something, we can use a sky with the right map. Or for example, you can go at this website and you can download, for example, this map. It is free and we can use it in our project. And in this case, we can, for example, go there and let's set to off this one. And there we can set to off, and back to our light. The VRay light, set to on, set visible, and back to the reflection. And there we can set the new map in the Dropbox, outer, April, texture, and this one. Okay, Let's see what we have inside the rendering. Okay. You see, it is on the back, so we can have it. We can then go inside the exposure control, and let's say that we have a neutral lighting. Let's see this part, because you see we have, okay, some colors that are gone. Okay, nice and save. So we have nothing actually there over the terrain, so we can do something simple, and let's go there. And this one is the water plane, and we can prepare a terrain material, but we'll do a simple terrain material. So let's assign this one. Let's go for a VRay material, and there we can use a substance map, load substance texture, and let's go for let's see, we can try with this one. Let's go at full screen. And let's go to have a better texture size. Okay. And we can go lower. Let's go to 0.25 for the blurring, and let's go to 5 and 5. That's not so important because we don't see anything there, so we can stay with a really simple material. Okay, if we render, we have actually this kind of effects. Okay, nice. So we can start to use Forest Pro. We find it there inside the geometry. We have the Itoo Software. So we have to pick this one, and then we can create it. You see that it is saying that we have a really large area, and we say, okay, limits the visibility. Okay, we have something there. Forest Pro, we can use a lot of technology to create plants and to show the plants inside the viewport. So let's go in perspective. This one is one of it. You see that it can use cards to be really fast. We'll see a simple example. So we'll see how we can manage the libraries inside the software. You see that there we have a property, a library, and there we have the geometry. There we can put all the geometry we like to scatter over the surface. You can download also a Forest Leader version. It is a free version, but it can manage just planar objects. So you cannot use on objects like this one, like terrain, or objects with a Z deformation. You see that we have a lot of panels there to control, and we'll do something more complex on a coming tutorial series for citizens. We can get inside the library, and you see that there we have a library with different plants. These plants are 2D, so we are talking about cards, and are really useful when you see at distance an object. Then we have the 3D plants, and you see we are talking about 3D plants with a lot of detail there, but really simple. Then we have also stone, for example, so we can put more stuff inside the scene. And then we have, for example, the presets. That's preset to create, for example, grass, and that's really useful. There we have the preset to create leaves over the terrain, and there we have a preset to create stone over a terrain. So we'll start with another possibility, and that's the high quality plants. Some plants with a really high quality in modeling, and those plants come with a software. So if you install the plugin, you have these plants, and you can decide to use this one. To be really fast, we select a preset to have the grass. So we can, for example, go there and we have the common grass with the tail and the common grass for large areas. We have large areas, so we can use maybe this one, and you see that there we have also the possibility to use the daisy and their other plants. We go for the first preset, this one, and say import selected. Now it is managing the setup, and you see that now we have the plants there. Let's go to the camera and let's try to render again the scene to understand what is doing. And you see that we have grass over the terrain. So let's do something interesting, and that's close there. And you see that we have three type of grass, and with 100% of possibility to be present in scene for both. Now I like to do something really simple, and I mean I like to scale it. So you see that actually it is using the sides from the library, but we can do something more. Let's go near. You see that it's really fast also to manage this plant, and there in the display we have the possibility to decide what we see inside the viewport. Let's save. You see that, for example, we have the possibility to see the mesh, the point clouds, a proxy, and the adaptive. So let's see, for example, with the proxy, you can see the scale, and with the point clouds you can have a better representation. You have also the possibility to have a better shading using the lighting inside the scene, and that's really nice. And you have also the possibility to see the mesh, but it can be really complex to manage. Let's go in the transform, and we can decide how to translate and how to rotate. We have the maximum rotation at 360 degrees, and we have just a little bit of scaling, so we can have a better scaling, saying for example 100% to 100%. If we go back to the cameras and we re-render, you will see that the grass is bigger than before, and that's more natural. Okay, so I like to have, and we are talking about 3D grass, so it's really fast to calculate. Let's go in the exposure control, and let's go to have a little bit more lighting inside the scene with 150 for the ISO. Let's say that it's okay to have this kind of grass. We have obviously other tools there, but I prefer to stay in this way. Let's imagine that now I like to add something more. So let's go in the library, and let's say that we'll add some stones. To add some stones, we have just to select the stones. Let's imagine that we like to put, for example, this one, import, and you see that we have a lot. I put over the grass, so let's go back to the latest saved version. Okay, and let's go to select the forest. Okay, we have to press the plus button, and we have another item. Then we can go in the library, select rock 1, import selected, and you see that we have a lot of rock. Then we can say, for example, that we have, let's imagine a probability of 5%, and you see that we have still a lot of rock, then 1%. Let's go in the cameras, and let's say that we have the sides to 200%, so the rock are bigger. And let's see what we have in rendering, so we can understand how to manage Okay, you see that the rocks are big but are too much. Okay, back there and check again the exposure control. Back to 150. Okay, nice. Let's go there and let's say that we have less rock. So let's go for 0.35 for probability. Let's go in the scaling there. Okay, we can stay with this value. Let's say also something more little. Nice. Okay, let's add something more, and we can add, this one can be, for example, some flowers. We can go for the daisy import. Okay, and the daisy, let's say that we go for 10%, and let's go to check the rendering. And you see still that everything is 3D and it is really fast to be calculated. And you see that we start to have some flowers inside the grass. I think that we can go to have less rock. So let's go back there, and the rock can have maybe 0.1. Okay, now I like to add some plants, some trees, and to add the trees we can add the trees there, or maybe we can add another tree, another forest, just to control the trees and just the tree, and that's all. So for example, we can add another forest, and this forest will have, you see, a lot of control to the side. Oh, sorry. Okay. Or maybe we can use directly the previous one. So let's delete and let's pick there, and let's create a line. Something like that. You see, I'm just creating a spline. Okay. Then sorry, let's select back the forest, and sorry, and we can go in the areas and we can add a new spline area, and we pick this one. Okay, and this area will be an exclude, but we can decide to change the curve, inverting the curve, or let's directly change the spline, so we can just rotate by 90 degree, 180 degree, then we'll move it, and we say, for example, to move these vertices there. Okay, so you see that it is controlling where the plants stay on the surface. Sorry, and let's go back to the areas, and you see that it is really interesting because it can controls where we like to put the stuff, or where we like to erase the stuff. And this was just to see how it works. In this case, I don't like to use on this one, so we can use the other forest as we done before. So let's go there and let's say to use another forest. Let's say yes, okay. And this one will have the spline to control, and the spline is the exclude, so we have the plants just there. Then we can go there and let's say that this one is a tree, and let's pick the high quality tree. So we go to have something like the maple, so import. Okay, you see that the scaling is really low, so we have to change it, and let's say maybe 800, maybe less. Okay, let's go for something like that. We need less plant. We can also manage directly the density over the surface. So let's go to change the density and we'll obtain less tree. Okay, let's go to change also. You see that we have the possibility to control the collision between the trees. So in this case, the trees cannot go one inside each other. You see that are colliding each other. But we can change a little bit the radius, and let's say maybe 50%, so the trees can come inside each other. For the transformation, in this way, you see we can manage the movement over two axes. We have the rotation to have a not stable, but let's say -2, 2, -2, and 2 for the other axis to have no movement over the trees. And then we have also the scaling. Let's say 100% is the maximum and 75% is the minimum. Okay, let's go to render. And you see that we have the trees inside the scene without problems. We have still not so much trees, so now we go to add more plants. So let's put another plant there. Let's add, and the new item is a birch. Okay, and let's say that the maple has a 50% of possibility to be visible, and the maple, the birch, has 100%, and the maple, let's see if we have to change something. Okay, let's render again, and you see that now we have more stuff inside the scene, and it is starting to be more interesting. Okay, I like to make to add just another plant inside. So let's go there and let's say add, and the new one is a bush, just to have something inside the plants there. And the bush, let's see if it is too much. It's okay because we have not so much plants, you see. Okay, so let's change a little bit the shader for the terrain. Let's see if we can use another substance, the dry ground number 2, and we go for a darker map, and let's render just this area. Okay, it is better. Cancel. Let's render part of the water and save. And in the water I like to change a little bit, so we go there in the material and we set the fog color to something more similar to a water, and let's say that we have 0.25, and let's render. Okay, and we can change also the reflection. Let's go for 1.4. So it is just a little bit less reflective. And now I'd like to change a little bit the lighting there, so let's go there, and in this map now we need for sure another texture, so let's go there and let's use a color correction. Keep all map. That's our map. I like to have more contrast. Let's see in this way how much lighting we have. Obviously we have to change the background map, but I like to see if we have a more sunny illumination. It is a little bit better. Let's change again. Okay, it is better than before, but it is still not enough. So let's go there and let's use another color correction so we can have more possibility to control the map. Let's go back there. Okay, we have, you see, more directional light. Perfect. Okay, so close, and we can say to this map that is not visible, so select the VRay light, and let's say that this one is invisible and affect no reflection. Then we make a copy, and this one will be visible, will be just for reflection, and it will use a copy of this map. So a copy, and this one will have no color correction. Okay, so let's copy this one as an instance. Nice. Let's see back. The rendering, it should be with the right map on the back and the right illumination. Now we can add a little bit of glossy and a little bit less reflectivity over the terrain there, the water. So let's say that there we have 0.5. Affect shadows for the reflection, And let's go for a little bit of glossy reflection. Okay, back there, let's have a little bit less reflectivity, and let's go for 0.95, and again render. So you see we have a little bit less glossiness. Okay. Let's try to have a little bit less transparency, just to see it change not so much. Okay. Now I like just to see with a little bit of changes there at the ISO to 200, and then we can comp the final image. Okay. Let's go to change something in the second map we use it there, and let's say that the gamma is lower, and back to render adjust this part. And there. And let's see also the sky there. Okay, so we are ready to render the final image. So we can set the rendering. We'll do it at 100 at HD. So let's say 1000. And let's go there. Let's say that we have the emission neutrality, and we'll use 8. We have no indirect illumination, so we can try to use it. So let's see how it looks. But let's stop. And we need for the radiance, let's go for low, and then for the light cache, let's go for 32 passes, because I have 32 core, and let's go for 500. And let's say to render preview. So that's an example of the result we can have in rendering. So now I can render the final image. We have just to be sure we set this one, let's say to medium. If you have time, you can set to high too. And then we have the anti-alias, and we can go there to maybe 16 and 2. We do something nothing so complex. And save. Now I can render, and then we can comp, just making some color correction to the image all together. Okay, so let's go with one screen, and let's add tool, input output loader, and let's go to pick the render we just prepared, the beauty pass. Okay, let's say that we have 0 frames because it's just a still, and there we go to have the fit. Okay, let's start with a color correction, and let's go with a brightness and contrast, and we add a little bit of contrast. Okay, a little bit of brightness, and again a little bit of contrast. So that's the previous render, and that's the comp. And then we can add a little bit of saturation. Let's see, with the A and B, the A is this one and the B is this one, so we can see the differences. Okay, okay, maybe we can go back to 1.0 for the saturation. Let's go for a color corrector, and this time we work directly with a correction of the color, and the A is this one. Let's work a little bit on the shadows. Okay, let's work a little bit on the midtones, and let's see if we can do something over the master, just a little bit. Okay, nice. So then add tool, let's go for a glow. It is obviously too much. Let's go for just a little bit over there. Okay, now we can add a little bit of grain, so we can go inside fill, grain. So you see we have a little bit of grainy, just a little bit less, and it is a little bit lower in scale. Okay, and now I like to add another brightness and contrast, just to have a little bit of vignetting, and to do it we need a mask. We do mask, ellipse, and we use this one as mask, and then there, let's go lower a little bit with the brightness. This one will be inverted. Let's go with just the A to fit, and the mask will have soft border, so that's with and without. And let's change also a little bit the color in this area, so color corrector, connect there and use the mask, and this one, oh sorry, that's the mask. You see there we can change a little bit the color. Okay, so go there and let's use software. Okay, and there in the brightness, let's go lower, and in the color, sorry, in the color we go for lower strength, just a little bit. Okay, so that's all. It was really simple. Let's save the tutorial there, and let's call it comp. Done. So that's the final result. We have just to save it, and we can say, for example, to say add tool, creator, background. This one is black, and we say 1080, 1700, and then we use a comp, and we have the merge. That's the background, and that's the foreground, and that's the final result. So that's our final image, and save, and we have the final project. So as you see, it was really simple, and we'll start soon with a new series to create more complex environment, and it will be a citizen series. So for the moment that's all, and I hope to see you back on Max Cookie to check for new tutorial coming from cgcookie.com.